Hello to all of you from the new part of the daily map report prepared by the Pioneer team. In a moment, we will analyze the developments on the last day of the Russia-Ukraine war together with the map. According to the latest reports, the Ukrainian counterattack, which intensified on the Zaporizhia front, continues in full force. Clashes between the Ukrainian army and the Russian army are actively continuing in far parts of the front line. We see that there are many Ukrainian attempts on the Zaporizhia front line and other front lines. We will discuss the progress in the coming minutes. But already now we must say the following. The war will become more and more difficult because the difficult seasonal conditions of the Ukrainian field are approaching. Moreover, the statements of the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky are in this direction. Therefore, the Ukrainian army has to make critical gains before the conditions worsen. So, what is the latest situation on the front line? Let's take a look together. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications in order to not miss the daily map reports and reports on the agenda prepared by the Pioneer team and to be informed about our reports. I also read all your comments. Please continue to express your opinion about our content in the comments. So let's start if you're ready, the Pioneer reports. First of all, let's start our report by evaluating the latest developments on the Zaporizhia front line. First, let's open the Zaporizhia front line on the map. We'll start with the Rubodny region. We have stated in our previous reports one of the main focal points of the Ukrainian armed forces counterattack in the Novoprokopivka region south of Rubodny. Ukrainian troops have had a significant area in this region for some time. Efforts are underway to expand the bridgehead there. At the moment, Ukrainian troops are under pressure in two main directions. The first of these is Novoprokopivka and the second is Verbov region. In recent days, Kopani is also among these targets. In recent days, there have been numerous allegations that the Ukrainian army is trying to advance in the direction of Kopani. According to reports, Ukrainian troops launched a fierce artillery attack on the Kopani area. Following the attacks, Ukrainian infantry units also launched a fierce offensive in the area. However, there have no significant changes so far. As you can see on the map, the Ukrainian army's gains here in the Rubodny area cover an area of approximately 39 square kilometers. This is the blue and the green areas. It is very important that Kopani, located to the west of these areas, also comes under the control of the Ukrainian army. If Kopani comes under the control of the Ukrainian army, Ukraine will expand its fronts. At the same time, the Ukrainian army will make a very important breakthrough in the direction of Vasilivka, the western end of the Zaporizhia front line. The Kopani area has long been targeted by both Ukrainian artillery and the Ukrainian infantry unit. It is hardly a coincidence that the attacks have increased in intensity. In fact, it is possible to say that the intensity of the attacks will increase even more in the coming days. Let us conclude by mentioning the artillery attacks here. According to the latest reports, Russian artillery units targeted Ukrainian positions in the Rubodny and Novoprokopivka area in the Rubodny section of the Zaporizhia front line. On the other hand, Ukrainian artillery struck Russian positions in Ichenko, Novopokrovka and Novofedorovka. Let's continue with the latest developments in the Wuhldar sector of the Zaporizhia front line. As you know, there has been a long period of silence in this region. We can say that the silence in the region continues. When I talk about the silence here, I actually mean that there is no change because the troops of both armies continue their attacks in the region. According to the latest reports, there is a pressure from the Russian army in the direction of Pryodny and Yarkhain. However, no changes have occurred so far. The Ukrainian army is largely holding its positions. Here, the Ukrainian army continues the strategy it has recently launched. As you may remember, we have mentioned this. While the Russian army is attacking, the Ukrainian army is waiting in the defense position. In this way, Ukrainian troops do not inflict heavy casualties and the Russian army weakens during the attacks. In the following days, if the Russian army inflicts the expected casualties, the Ukrainian army will take the attack positions again. According to the latest reports, Russian artillery units targeted Yarkhain and Pryodny in the Wuhldar sector of the Zaporizhia front line. On the other hand, Ukrainian artillery struck Russian units in the direction of Zaporizhia. Let's continue with the Donetsk front line. Before we get into the details, I want to point out. Yes, Russian troops continued their traditional offensive in the direction of Marinka today, but they didn't achieve any results. Ukrainian defense are largely holding their positions. According to the latest reports, there is a lot of activity in the Krasnohorivka area. Russian troops in the area attacked Ukrainian positions with the air and artillery support. The Donetsk front line is really very strange, because the Russian army have a very strong offensive fortifications in this region. The most important strong fortifications of the Ukrainian army are on the Zaporizhia front line. Despite all this, the Russian army cannot achieve the desired successes on the Donetsk front line. In other words, there we see the furious attacks of the Russian army both from the land and the air. However, the Ukrainian defense has officially built a barrier here. This barrier cannot be overcome. In addition, the Russian army is willing to sacrifice many soldiers in order to overcome this barrier. However, there is no change. Let's talk about the artillery duels here. According to the latest reports, Russian artillery units targeted Ukrainian positions in Novomikhailovka and Avdiivka. Ukrainian artillery, in turn, hit Russian positions in Alexandrovka, Donetsk, Budynny, and Yasinovietna and Golomovskaya. Let's continue our report by analyzing the latest developments on the Bakhmut front line. As we know, the Ukrainian army has largely captured the railway line and Andriivka, south of Bakhmut city center. There is a counterattack by the Russian army in the area. So far, the Russian army has launched attacks to recapture the railway line, but it has failed to make any gains. Ukrainian defense fortifications remain intact. Ukrainian artillery units and Ukrainian infantry units are responding to the offensive moves of the Russian army. There is a furious struggle between the artillery units of the two armies in the region. According to the latest reports, Russian artillery shelled Ukrainian positions in Andriivka, Klishchivka, Kosovi, and Budagnovka. On the other hand, Ukrainian artillery struck Russian armed forces positions in Ozarynivka, Kordomivka, Bakhmut town center, Dobovazilivka, and Yakovlevka. We have already mentioned that the Luhansk front line has become quite active. There are a number of offensive activities of the Russian troops in the region. According to the latest reports, the Ukrainian army has also made a tactical retreat around Makiivka. Russian troops are trying to advance, but there is no significant successes. Ukrainian artillery responded to these attacks by hitting Russian positions in the Lysychansk and Novosyolovsky. What do you think? Do you think the Ukrainian army will continue its advance on the Zaporizhia front line? Do you think the Russian troops are weakening? Do you think the activity on the Bakhmut front line will increase? Let me know in the comments. I read and I care about all your comments.